Welcome to another edition of Inside Medicine. I'm your host, Doug Geinzer, the CEO of Las Vegas HEALS. HEALS being an acronym for Health, Education, Advocacy, and Leadership of Southern Nevada. And we're in the studio today with Derek Parent, the Vice President of Lending for the Parent team, part of Cross Country Mortgage. For those of you that are new to Inside Medicine, we broadcast live in the studio here every Thursday at 10 a.m., and then we rebroadcast out on iTunes, Stitcher, a whole bunch of those different social media websites. We also put it inside of HEALS Headlines that delivers every other Thursday, and you could also find it on the HEALS website, lasvegasheals.org. We like to bring in leaders, movers, shakers, educators, people that are advancing healthcare here in Southern Nevada, whether that's through innovation, education, or bringing patients from out of market in. But today, we've got a special episode of Inside Medicine. We're going to be talking about workforce and why that matters and why that's important to the growth of healthcare. And we've got an expert in that right here in the studio today. Derek, welcome to Inside Medicine.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so before we dive in and start learning about the Parent team and cross country and what you're doing, because it's a unique episode, and really what it's going to come down to is workforce.
Yes.
But before we dive in, let's get to know Derek. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and really we love hearing the story of what brought you to Vegas, because none of us are from here, but we all call Vegas home today. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been in the lending industry for a little over 20 years. Back home from Providence, Rhode Island, I won a trip, and a trip took me to Las Vegas. And funny, we're getting ready to check out of the Hilton, and we go to the cab stand, and we tell the cab driver we're headed back to Rhode Island. He's like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "We didn't even realize that there was a blizzard back home." He's like, "It's all snowed out." So I went to go visit the company that I was working for at the time called Conseco Finance, and all the employees were gone, and it was just a branch manager. And I asked if I could come back and work in Las Vegas, and she said yes. So literally, I went home. 28 days later, I landed back in Las Vegas. Like, it was without even thinking about it, it was just the change I wanted. A little over 19 years now I've been here, and this is my home.
You know, I moved here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and nobody leaves Pittsburgh. Very few people do. And so I came out to Vegas like most. Let me give it a shot. I'll be out there for a year, maybe 2 years, see what it's all about. And you get here and you go, holy crap, 330 days of sunshine, the best entertainment, the best dining, 24/7 lifestyle. Why didn't somebody tell me about this sooner? Ditched all of the cold weather gear, ditched the shovels and the scrapers, and you know what? You couldn't drag me back to Pennsylvania except in the spring and the fall to visit family.
The closest I actually came to Las Vegas before coming here was watching it on like HBO fights. Like you see the Strip, but then when you get here, it was just life. Like I lived in Summerlin, and it was just beautiful. And we didn't visit the Strip as much, but I worked, and it was an amazing place to be in 2000. Yeah,
we'll be at a conference this weekend, and we'll be hoping to get some people to move out here. So we go to an OR. It's OR today. It's a bunch of perioperative nurses. And, you have to break through that stigma of we don't live in the casino. We don't come down here to the first floor to have our buffet and hang out, and we don't get our mail up at the hotel front desk. So it's a different way. And once they realize we're a city of 2.4 million.
Yes.
And people own homes, and people have kids that go to normal schools and hang out in parks. It's a different way when you're selling the lifestyle.
It really is. It really is. Like, I live in Henderson, so see all the growth on St. Rose with the Raider practice facility going in. My children go to school here, so it's life. It's home. It's I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
And I'll bet the mortgage business is good. So you've been in it for 20 years. We have a common friend in Clay Duncan, and you spent some years working with Clay, and now you're running a division for Cross Country Mortgage. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you got to where you are today, because you run one of the biggest teams in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So it's funny. I stumbled into the mortgage industry a little over 20 years ago, and just fell in love with helping people. We really started off with debt consolidation, people that had debt, take them down, saving them, thousands of dollars a month. And then like I said, my career started there, and then I transferred here, and I worked for Conseco for a couple of years, and then I went to go work for a mutual friend of ours, Clay Duncan, and honestly, I couldn't imagine being in any other business except what I do. The gratitude, or the how grateful I am that, one, I get to help people save money, but two, create that home ownership. Most people don't realize like what home ownership truly does to a community just like this.
It's huge. It's the retention part of the equation. We're going to spend a lot of time on the second part of the show talking about recruitment, retention, and why that's so critical in healthcare, because as we're growing our organizations, it all comes down to people.
Yeah.
And, it's HEALS. A lot of people don't realize our mission is to improve the quality of health in Southern Nevada. And we acknowledge we've got some quality issues, but that's caused by lack of access. And the lack of access is caused by lack of workforce. Yeah. And we just don't have enough great practitioners. We've got amazing practitioners. We don't have enough. Mm-hmm. And when we get them here, we've got to retain them. And we're going to dive in and talk about why home ownership helps out with that. But you recently joined the board of Las Vegas HEALS. We're grateful for that. And you play a big role, and you're really integrated into the healthcare industry. Why was healthcare so appealing to you?
I go to a lot of events, and I just saw that the healthcare was growing fast. Like 37,000 jobs were created between healthcare and education. So we just wanted to be a part of that. And we saw that just a lot of articles on Forbes about home ownership and how it really boosts culture and reduces turnover. So knowing that where healthcare was growing, we wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, and HEALS, we've grown quite a bit. We've been around for about 15 years now. The organization represents groups that employ about 34,000 healthcare professionals. And if I were to go out and talk to all of the C-suite, and I say, what keeps you up at night? Unequivocally, they answer workforce.
Yeah,
we struggle finding them. It costs a lot of money to get them here. And then we struggle keeping them here.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk after this commercial break about what the parent team is doing to really help healthcare industry and keeping our practitioners here in town. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to hear a little bit about the Inspired Excellence in Healthcare Awards, which is coming up here in October. And we're going to hear some from the Oquendo Center, one of our strategic partners that also has the largest surgical training facility west of the Mississippi. So let's go ahead and hear a little bit about our gala coming up and then the Oquendo Center. Be back in a few minutes.
Join Las Vegas HEALS as we celebrate the Inspired Excellence in Healthcare Awards on Thursday, October 24th, 2019. Las Vegas HEALS will return to the magnificent Four Seasons Hotel to recognize and celebrate 6 more honorees. Be sure to save that date, again, Thursday, October 24th, and be on the lookout for your personal invitation. If you know a physician or healthcare leader worthy of recognition, consider nomination. Nominations open on May 31st. We look forward to seeing everyone at the Inspired Excellence in Healthcare Awards on Thursday, October 24th, 2019.
Welcome back to Inside Medicine. We're here in the studio today with Derek Parent, the Vice President of Lending for the Parent Team, which is part of Cross Country Mortgage. Derek, welcome back. And we're going to spend a little time now talking about the importance of the program that you've been putting in place and what that means to the healthcare industry. Because as we touched on before the commercial break, recruitment, retention, it's what keeps our C-level guys up at night. Yeah. When people think of strategic partnerships within healthcare, they probably don't connect dots between healthcare and mortgage lending.
Yeah.
How have you done that, and we're going to dive into the program that you've developed for Heels. But why is that important? And then talk about home ownership and what that means to somebody. You've got some great personal stories that you've shared with me before, and I want our audience to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, so the program that we put together was called the Affinity Program. And the reason for the Affinity Program, it's innovation. We're always, I could consider myself an innovator in lending. We're coming out with different programs to serve needs. So when you're trying to retain an employee, or even an employee that comes to work, he loves working, but they're stressed out, most of the time it's financial stress. So our program wasn't just designed to help, people relocate and get into being a first-time buyer, but it was also to help with the refinance, help someone save money, debt consolidation. So my program offers a steep discount, like a $2,100 credit towards closing costs. So what that does is, for the employer, it helps with a benefit for the employee. So
you know what it really does too is it's in the space that I grew up in, which is kind of that recruitment, that talent space. We oftentimes find employers offering more and more sign-on bonuses, and now they're starting to look at retention bonuses. But this is a no-cost benefit to an employer, which is the equivalent of a sign-on bonus, because they're saying, hey, buy a house out here. There's $21 of basically free money for you to get into a house. And for the employer, they now have somebody that's committed to the community, which is huge. If we could throw up the screen that talks a little bit about the benefits, talk to us, Derek, a little bit about what those closing costs many times looks like and how that equates up to that $2,100 amount.
Yes. So the closing costs would be the appraisal, all lender fees, credit report, flood certs. Even though we live in the desert, we still have additional things that we have to do, especially with the flood certs. But you kind of hit the nail on the head with the retention.
That's big. So, I've been, it shows my age. I've been in the human resource space now for about 30 years. Back before we called it human resources, we called it personnel. And we've always lived by this. It's easier and cheaper to retain people than it is to recruit them. So I'll share some numbers that in the nursing space, back 15 years ago when we had a nursing shortage, very similar to what we're experiencing today, the average cost to recruit a nurse, to recruit them in through the door, was about $18,000. And that's whether you were using a staffing agency, a third-party recruiter, direct marketing, whatever that was. The average cost to replace a nurse, so that's when somebody leaves, the retention side, it jumped from $18,000 to $68,000.
Yeah. And
so home ownership keeps them there.
Yeah, it's in our industry too, we have the same. It's the numbers are pretty much the same. It's very expensive when you lose a person. That's why when we rolled out the program, this is absolutely free. So when you said, the signing bonuses and so forth, this is just another thing for an employer to put in the employee package, the benefit of home ownership, the benefit of saving $2,100 up front. So for us, it was something that we wanted to add back to the community.
Yeah, and it retains them here. So many times we talk about, we call it the third space. Yeah. So we all have three spaces in our lives. We have our work life, our home life, and then a third space of how you engage in the community. But it really starts with feeling like you're part of the community. And you don't feel like you're part of the community unless you're a homeowner.
Yeah.
When you're just renting, it's just easy to say, hey, let me cut the cord and move back to Southern California, move back to the Midwest. But when you're in home ownership, you're part of the community. You live there, and that's what keeps people here.
Yeah. It's a sense of pride. When you own a home, you pick up something. When you just rent, you may just walk past it. So it's definitely the pride of home ownership, but also with being a homeowner. Rents have jumped dramatically in our town. Super transparent. Like the average rent that was $900 is now $1,300, $1,400, right? For like a one bedroom. So now when you own, if you're doing a 30-year fix, you know your payment's fixed for 30 years.
Yep.
Renting, your rent can go up every year.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
So, at least when you own, it's fixed. You don't.
And Derek, you're well recognized, versed, and have been covered in several magazines in the high-rise community because Vegas didn't have those years back. When I moved here 26 years ago, we didn't have high-rises. Now they're everywhere. So talk to us a little bit about your experience with the high-rise community. You're recognized at HighRise Life. Tell us about how you cut your teeth in there.
Well, it was pain, to be honest with you. It was just pain. So I went to go buy a high-rise and went to go do the lending side, and it was only private money and hard money. So knowing, private money, hard money is very expensive. 10% interest rate, 25% down, 5% in origination fee. So it was expensive. So I knew that there was an underserved community in high-rise. So I really went at it. And within 6 months, Via Towers, which is on Las Vegas Boulevard, was one of the very first towers that we got approved for conventional financing. There was financing on some of the towers, but not conventional. I like to say I was the first one to bring conventional financing to Las Vegas Boulevard.
And that's important. So we find a lot of our healthcare providers, more our higher level practitioners, find themselves in a high-rise. They like the ability to lock and leave, as they call it.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. And do you see that activity? Because obviously it's a higher net worth individual that's moving into these high-rises, and it's a different style of life.
You'd be surprised. So a lot of the high-rises are still way undervalued. Like what was like $1 million before is about $400,000 or $500,000 now, just because the market didn't come back as fast as our housing did. But the quality of life in a high-rise, like you kind of touched on it earlier, like the Strip isn't like we don't live down there to go get our mail, but when you live in the high-rise, you actually do. So it's convenience, security. So a couple of doctors that I have done loans for down on the other end of the Strip, they worked 15 hours a day. So I suggested, hey, have you looked at a condo, a high-rise? And when they went there, they realized it was a quality of life for them. They have the pool. They have the maintenance. They have a gym in the building. So it was very convenient for them. So we found that, serving them and asking additional questions before they got here, that was the way that some of them wanted to go.
And something that we're seeing a lot of, too, is this migration of physicians from high-cost areas, particularly California.
Yeah.
California, the cost of living is just ridiculous. And so they want to claim their primary residence in Nevada for that tax break. They still kind of want to keep hold of their beach house there, but they like living in a high-rise so they could lock and leave during the week and then jump on their plane to fly to California to spend the weekend. So we're seeing a lot of that activity, and frankly, more and more, because as Las Vegas becomes a destination for professional sports teams with the Raiders and the Vegas Golden Knights, and looks like we're going to get a soccer league here pretty soon, and it wouldn't shock me if the MGM and the Maroons announced an NBA team here in the upcoming months. And I think that's going to bring more professional sports, which they require a higher level of healthcare delivery. And I think we're going to see a boom of more and more healthcare providers moving here. So it's perfect timing. And we're appreciative of what you're doing to help these guys. It helps the entire healthcare industry.
Well, what I love about what you said with MGM, they already have the Aces, which is our women's basketball team. These women are amazing to go watch. They're spectacular, great team, great energy. Bill Lambert's the coach, so growing up back in the 80s, watching them play, it is now. But just like you said, the way this town has grown is amazing. So funny. We're doing a loan for a guy right now who is a big guy in the Raiders organization. And you said the same thing. He's keeping his house in California and making this his second home. And him and his wife, they bought a high-rise. And so it's just, when you say that, it's touching because it's actually happening now. And I get to deal with a lot of the guys coming over from the Raiders now. As the team slowly comes, or you see the facility being built on the highway, it's becoming a lot more real as we pass it.
2020, it's going to be a big year. So is it a good time to buy a house right now?
It's a great time. It truly is. The market's still growing. You know, we're still about 20 to 30% below all-time highs, so we have a lot of room to grow. And we're not built on a real estate crash. Back when the market crashed here, it was completely bad loans. You know, the 80-20 loans, so no money. People were not putting money down. They were just coming in. People buying 5-6 homes at a time. We don't have that now. The state put a law in place. You have to have the ability to repay. So although you may have a foreclosure of someone losing a job, you're not going to see massive foreclosures like we once did.
Yeah, we had, obviously, back after the crash, there was that undercurrent that wiped out a lot of the real estate industry, but it's nice to see it back. As a homeowner, I'm appreciative of it because now I'm watching my home value go up rather than down. And you know what? I think it's going to continue trending that way.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of your time in healthcare, you know, joining the board of HEALS and contributing at the level that you've done. We're appreciative, but I know there's a lot of nonprofits out there that you've done work for. We talked a little bit about a cancer group. Most recently, I heard you raised a bunch of money for Easter Seals. Tell us a little bit about that. We just had Christine Zach, their CEO, on the show literally a couple weeks ago, so it's perfect time. So tell us a little bit about what you did for Easter Seals.
So, you know, I was a part of a I saw something years ago. Someone was raising money for cancer, so I made it my mission for 7 days out of a year to raise money. So it hit family, friends, the community, and just raise money for a great local grassroots organization. So Easter Seals, I was honored to raise a little over $15,000 for them.
Nice.
But every year it's a different organization that we're, you know, being here is the way to give back is to not only time, but to financially support some of these amazing organizations.
Well, the community's fortunate to have you here. The healthcare community appreciates everything that you're doing. We've covered quite a bit of ground. Is there anything in particular that you want our audience to know?
Yeah, I would let them know that Las Vegas is an amazing place to live. Las Vegas, Henderson, truly, it's a gift that keeps on giving. You hit it, you know, you wake up every day and it's sunny. Some states you wake up and it's gloomy. It's amazing to live here. I enjoy my ride to work in the morning. I enjoy stopping at Starbucks. It's a great place to work, and to have great friends just like you and a lot of other leaders in this town that are really bringing, you know, this healthcare, making it's real on what you guys are doing. And I'm grateful to be a friend and a part of HEALS.
Thank you, Derek. Derek, appreciate you having you on the show. Again, Derek Parent, the Vice President of Lending for Cross Country Mortgage here in Las Vegas, and we appreciate all you do. And for our guests that are out there, we look forward to seeing you back next week for another edition of Inside Medicine.